Welcome to Starkey SoundBites. I'm your host, Dave Fabry, Starkey's Chief Hearing Health Officer. As we close out 2023 and begin to look into the future of 2024, I can think of no one better than Brandon Sawalich, our President and CEO, to reflect on where Starkey's been in this year and really looking at your role also with Hearing Industries Association in the leadership position, reflecting a little bit on some of the things that you've done on our behalf in Washington, D.C., where are we going, where have we been? So Brandon, thanks for being back on the podcast.
Well, I think thank you, Dave. And it's always fun because I know that you and I could talk hours on this topic. And it's not just myself, you and others here at Starkey and the great people in the industry that have been around long enough that understand the industry. And if you remember, it wasn't long ago that the industry was changing so fast, right? Well, I think those were really, if you think about it, good headlines for, good articles, good thought-provoking articles, but not reality. The industry hasn't changed because it still all goes through the hearing professional. And you talk about the OTC and different channels. And so I think if we really look back on this year, it's about the technology, right? What's been available and the advancements there. And then as you look ahead into 2024, it's still about the patient. There's going to be advancements in technology and probably what others are doing. I know what we're doing, but it's really going to be about, patient-driven care. And the industry will continue to evolve, but that's going to make us better, whatever that means.
Yeah, I think that important distinction between patient-focused and patient-driven. Expand on that a little bit because the language has changed. We used to talk about patient-focused. What's the difference between patient-focused and patient-driven?
And you taught me a lot about this over the last 10 years or so with the Mayo Clinic's mission, right?
Needs of the patient come first, or the only interests that matter.
Patient-centric, right? Everything matters with patient. And for us, our mission statement, serve our customers better than anyone else. Bill started that in, when he started really the company in '67, it was about the patient, then it became about the customer, the professional as the industry evolved. So that serves both purposes. And I think as you see the needs of the digital patient, more and more, people with their iPads and iPhones and everything, it's about convenience and control. And then we still have the, I say traditional patient, I think because that's what is used and people can relate with, that are going to be in the office. My grandmother, who God bless her, 93 years old, isn't going to be on her iPad all the time for telehear. So she's going to want to go into the office. She's used to going to the office. So we're in a hybrid. We're coming into an era of, I think, of 4-year hybrid era, where you're going to see a little bit of that digital patient becoming more and more relevant from terms of how they want to be taken care of, and then the traditional patient.
Yeah, I think you raise a good point. When we were going into 2020, and at that time we thought the worst thing that we could anticipate was OTC hearing aids.
Right.
COVID changed all of that, and I think it did. A couple of things that I saw as somebody that still sees patients was patients that I didn't think were going to be capable of using telehealth. Suddenly were able to do so. Grandparents, great-grandparents all had to.
Exactly.
And they still like the face-to-face. And I do want to talk a little bit about that in a little bit. But necessity was the mother of invention in that case. And we had to very quickly mobilize to come up with telehear options. We had an asynchronous, not real-time approach. We had, in the matter of weeks, when the full brunt of the COVID pandemic was hitting us, we were able to mobilize a synchronous, real-time, which was mind-blowing in terms of the capacity we had to be agile.
If you remember, I think our expo was the end of January 2020, and I remember walking off the stage thinking, okay, this is it. Our education and everything was around the patient in the office and excellence, and it was, 3 weeks later?
Everything shut down?
Went upside down, and your priorities change, and your priorities come into focus real quick. And it's amazing what you can do when in meetings before are told that can't be done because it's survival and you've got to adapt, and everybody had to adapt quickly. And people that might not have, been in the telehear and the telehealth world learned how to do it. They needed to because of the information on TVs, the isolation and such. And now that really gave us a glimpse of what was needed. We learned from it, from the patient. But if I look over the next, several years, the app is a product.
Yeah, you've said that for some time, and you're right.
I made that statement, I think, in 2018, where we have to, for intuitive, because I have a Tesla and my other cars that have the apps, they're very intuitive. You have to be just simple. And our apps need to be simple because of the population. And also, so what's next for how do they use that for remote fittings, telehealth, go down the list. And so we're investing, in what's next within software, within the apps, and then hearing aids that for that digital patient, they want as I say, the control and the convenience. Control of the app, convenience of the product, make it as simple as possible, but still high quality performance.
Indeed, and I think you're absolutely right. The app increasingly is the interface for the patient for controlling their devices, interfacing with their professional when necessary to provide benefits. And then when you start looking at features like translation and the self-check and some of the other Starkey-only features in this fall detection, we've really led in that area.
Yeah, we've expanded the definition of what a hearing aid can do. I mean, I look at it as that, in our industry, we've kind of boxed ourselves in and, basic entry, how we label things and then channels and bands, right? That was the thing, 20 years ago and, maybe 10 years ago where how many channels and bands does it have? Well, we don't talk about that anymore. No. What we're doing with AI, we started with Livio, and then now where we're going, it's really about, I see it as two areas. It's premium, premier technology, and then Premier Plus, Premium Plus. And that's really where, Genesis AI, there isn't anything like it. I talk to people and they say, well, so-and-so has, this, this premier level product. This is, where Genesis is, it's not even the same level because we're focused on a race to the top. When many are focused on a race to the bottom for various reasons. And what I mean by that is, we don't sacrifice quality for cost or performance. We want to focus on what's best for the patient and providing them, really the best patient care, the best sound experience. And, I get asked a lot of questions about what we're doing compared to our competition, and our competition's great. I mean, and you want them to be good because that makes you better. You want to be pushed. I mean, our Little League, all through life, whatever it might be, you have to be pushed and to compete and better yourself. And the same goes with business. And what we're doing, it's really, I'm not looking to try and be like anybody else and the people of Starkey is, we want to think and dream and hope, and, however you want to define it, on what is possible, and then also talk about what's not possible and then make it the possibility. And that's what Genesis AI is. I mean, Genesis AI was, number one, the sound experience. And then the stepping stone, then you look ahead about the industry and where technology can go. It truly is limitless. I mean, the things we're talking about and other partners we're working with. And it's an exciting time. You and I talked about, one of the last things I said at the expo in 2020 was, we're coming into the greatest decade in our industry. And I believe that. I believe that now, but I'm really excited about it because of what technology is allowing us to do. Indeed. And the relationships we've built and, putting hearing health care on the radar where it was a hearing aid before and a commodity and its amplifier. And Starkey's work and our work in Washington, D.C. and in other state governments and agencies and really educating on hearing health care, that hearing is essential, and technology. It's not just a commodity. It's not just, some type of pill you pay, high price for, and it's going to make you better. It's the human touch. You mentioned that earlier.
And that patient-driven technology is as well the area where really we have the opportunity to shine with this product. And so, one of the things that we wanted to do at the end of the year was sort of get our customers' mindset, and so we asked them to send some questions to talk with you today. So,
in disclosure, I haven't read these questions,
I know you
so you're going to hit me with them.
With liberty, I'm going to go ahead and begin with a couple of the questions that we've got here. So we've touched on this a little bit already, OTC, but Spencer asked the question, why do you think that there wasn't the massive hit to traditional or prescriptive hearing aid distribution when OTCs hit the market in full force this year?
I've been in the industry close to 30 years, and I think that I would say a voice of authority on this, and I think it was overhyped and marketed where people know when they're ready for hearing aids. There's a lot of advertising out there that misrepresents, and that was our biggest concern with OTC. There's been, what, PSAPs, personal sound amplifiers for what?
The mid-teens, yeah.
And they've been out there. This wasn't anything but a government push and bill from Senator Warren, as we know, all know the story, and address healthcare costs. Well, we knew the industry; it was creating more confusion. A lot of good articles and concerns. There was a lot of hype about it that it just wasn't going to deliver because it's a product and a journey that people have to be ready for. And I think there's a lot of debate right now on. I see it online and. So-and-so are reporting numbers. We really think OTC is more than it is, and our people are doing it, and they're not. I think they're frustrated. As a matter of fact, I know they are because we all know, whether it's our customers throughout the U.S., people might buy the $99 hearing aid or they might buy the $200. They're coming into retail offices as hearing professionals, and they're mad. And I can say they're mad and dissatisfied, and that's not what's being reported. Because they're going to hearing professional offices thinking, you did this is a hearing aid, you're supposed to be able to fix this, and they don't understand and somewhat confused of why they can't be helped, but it's a product made somewhere outside the United States that can't be fixed by a hearing healthcare professional, and that's why hearing healthcare professionals, whether it's OTC, even some type of direct-to-consumer channel down the road, is still going to have a role. The jobs just change, just like my role changes, your role changes. We all change and adapt, and we have to. I mean, if we're stay the same complacency, we will, be extinct. So I think OTC, it doesn't surprise me that it the volume is what it is. I mean, we truly don't know, and just like we did with PSAP.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's helped that access and what people were saying it would. I think there was a lot of other agendas. Well, I know there was a lot of other agendas behind it because I could say that. But for us, I took it as an opportunity and platform to educate and raise awareness of all the options that are out there and what's best and several channels.
Yeah, I mean, I think no one argues. Accessibility and affordability are important as it relates to hearing care. We want to support that, but at the same time, you've been very consistent on the prescriptive model, our technology in the professional's hands, delivering optimal results. And you've doubled down on that, and it seems right now, I work with a lot of patients who are technically capable of pushing the buttons and adjusting their devices, engineers, et cetera, tech field workers, and they still say they're more comfortable having me make the adjustments, even though they're capable of doing it.
And I think over the channel hearing aids, over the counter hearing aids are great, but because to me it's what's wrong with somebody saying I need help,
right?
And you know what? If an over the counter hearing aid helps somebody, great. Yeah. I don't think it does the masses, but I think it eventually, like in many cases, that person's going to find their way to a professional for help. So it's great. I mean, I've been in favor of it, but done the right way. And Starkey and HIA and the work we've done there, I mean, we helped frame that up and educate where it was done in a safe way that I think will continue to evolve. But we did it right.
Do you see a role or a need for OTC as providing a first step for some patients and then really serving as a hybrid model? Or do you see it as distinctly apart from and different from the prescriptive model?
The biggest confusion I'll say one of the main, I should say biggest, one of the main confusions on OTC hearing aid is it's a hearing aid and not a channel.
Right.
It's not a channel. And what I would say by channel is how does somebody go and get hearing health care and hearing help for their hearing loss? Well, you have your there's private practice, you have your clinics, and there's various ways. And over-the-counter hearing aid, yes, some of the restrictions are less, but it's a hearing aid, and that was one of the. It was frustrating, but somewhat. I dare use the word, it was puzzling, because they were saying, well, you're just worried about it because it's going to hurt your business. And I look at it like, we make the products you're trying to deregulate and open more where we could sell more. We're doing it because we know what's best for the patient. That's why I'm here talking to you, not because I'm afraid of competition. So over-the-counter hearing aid is a hearing aid. It is not a channel.
Well stated. It was funny. Spencer came in with this comment, and he did have one more thing that he wanted to add.
Spencer's getting some airtime.
Yeah, he said, one more thing for Brandon. I was never able to formally apologize. Years ago, I was in the first group in the Starkey entrepreneurial program. When we did that program, we were in the conference room by your office, and I drank a bunch of soft drinks from the fridge, and I was told that was your private stash. So sorry about that.
Well, Spencer, it's okay. I don't have a real private stash. Anything at Starkey is... you have access to, so not a problem.
I do want to expand on, I think that comment about the hearing aid. OTC is a hearing aid, not a channel. Yeah. But we're also seeing threats from increased number of channels. And you've been very consistent about, we believe in the prescriptive approach, but also we see these other distribution channels. Use your crystal ball and say, what's Starkey's in your leadership and vision, really, in terms of emerging channels, established channels? How are we going to? What do we see in 2024?
I don't see threats per se. I see opportunities, and because why I say opportunities is at the end of the day, the patient decides. It's not going to be Starkey. The patient's going to decide, how they want to. Again, going back to control convenience, the traditional patient, how they want hearing health care. And the biggest evolution, and change is good. You have to change. And I think private practice has changed. Clinics have changed, hospitals, and they've adapted, yes, to technology, but shorter attention span. We all have shorter attention spans and memories because of social media and how we're marketed to. And marketing is not a bad word in this industry because you're educating. People have to know. So over the coming years, I think there's, areas that existing channels that Starkey has not traditionally been involved in, they're growing. I think our great loyal customers, we continue to invest in programs and ways for, patient counseling, patient tools, different types of programs that help them do a better job within their office and provide more and more hearing help in their community. I think there's emerging channels that will be coming and we'll be watching, because for Starkey, Genesis AI, I firmly believe it's the flagship product of the industry. It is the best sounding hearing aid in the industry, and patients deserve that opportunity to be able to experience it. That's why I call it sound experience. And as channels grow, and we have to continue to invest. I mean, I know what it cost years and hundreds of millions of dollars of investing into Genesis AI to get it where we need. I know what we need to do next. And as a company, just like businesses, you got to continue to grow. Lead, adapt, or die. I've been talking to our customers about that for 13 years now. In the Blockbuster example, my biggest fear, and I get asked this all the time, I shouldn't say fear, it's self-aware, is, for Starkey, I get asked, what keeps me up at night? Well, it's ourselves, it's complacency. So I have to pay attention, we all have to pay attention to the current channels that we haven't been involved in, that we need to look at. I mean, for the technology we have, because our technology, deserves to be out there for others. And we have to continue to push those boundaries, and we have to, we'll sit back and watch and see how other channels emerge, because it has to be through and with a hearing healthcare professional. That's the best solution. I don't care what channel it is right now. That's the best option, because that's where you're going to get that personal human touch and that care and service. And we're looking into the next year where how do we get more, yes, of course, our products out, because the more we provide and we sell, I mean, this is business, the more we invest into our company, not stockholders, but we invest into our company and our customers. Mm-hmm. And it would be irresponsible of me not to be looking at current channels and then exploring new and emerging channels, but maintaining our great service and the exclusivity of our programs and services that we provide to our value customers.
That's well said. Turning and pivoting a little bit to the technology, in 2018, you mentioned Achimbomic, and when we launched Livio AI, it was the industry's first product that had embedded sensors in the device capable of monitoring physical activity, social engagement. That was prescient, because now you look 5 years later, the ACHIEVE study results, the initial findings from the multi-year ACHIEVE study came out that really made that association between untreated hearing loss and cognitive decline, in particular for those with cardiovascular risk factors. So that ability to have a patient only wear their hearing aids, track physical activity, encourage them to be more physically active to prevent that progression of cardiovascular risk factors, and the social engagement, loneliness, cognition. That arguably, I think, we were 5 years ahead of that trend that is now coming out. Yeah. Similarly, I think right now, AI has become so ubiquitous as to be a buzzword that is meaningless. Right. But we're leading in that space as well with
the last
Genesis.
three years or so. I mean, that's the thing with AI is I'm reading articles in our industry and hearing and talking to people like, oh yeah, this is going to have AI and the future of AI and stuff. We've been talking about it for 3 years, and we've been leading in it. And that's okay. That's not a bragging point. To be first, you got to be running up that hill, and sometimes it's lonely. And we knew with Livio AI and the team we were putting together and what we did, I remember the look in people's face. They were fearful of AI. Mm-hmm. It's too much. And that's the one thing we learned. We had so many great features. Mm-hmm. It was almost like a Swiss Army knife where you couldn't keep up with everything the hearing aid was doing. And so now, that was our learning period, and we knew it. We're 5 years ahead, and we've dialed it into, all right, here's what the patient needs for features. We talk about the fall detection and activity and that engagement. Exercising the brain, mental health and well-being, and then continuing, because of what we did with Livio AI, dialing in that our algorithm and our secret sauce to make Genesis the best sounding sound experience on the market. We're ahead. I mean, what people are talking about now and, within our industry and what could be, we started that 5 years ago. Yeah. And I'm not, again, being arrogant or naive that, new things can happen, but we've learned a lot, and I love where we're going.
Yeah, and with the industry's first circuit that has an onboard DNN accelerator, and we're employing that already in edge mode and in other ways in the future to really personalize to the unique environment and the combination of the hearing loss and the environment that patients encounter.
Well, there's you mentioned DNN, because we were, we did our European launch event, and we're talking about DNN and what it does, and we had, the interviews we did, well, there's been DNN in the industry, it's been talked about, and that's right, it has. But there was also, I'll use a simplistic, there was a PS3 and now there's PS5. Yes. Ours is the most advanced, up-to-date DNN AI that you can get. There's not a processor inside a hearing aid that is good as what's in Genesis AI, because it's all new everything, and we mean that. And you could be running on an older version of Windows, or you can be up to date on the most current Windows software, and we are the most current in the industry.
Yeah, no question. And thanks to Eduardo for that question on looking forward on industry trends. So when you look at embedded sensors for the purpose of cardiovascular and cognition, then AI and DNN, quite a few questions came in. Alan articulated what others mentioned too. What's Starkey's future with Bluetooth low energy audio and specifically Auracast? What's the big deal about Auracast?
Well, I think it comes down to that intuitive, right? Being intuitive and easy, and what's best for the patient, and the strength and quality of the connection. Mm-hmm. You know, for us, you know that you and I can get into this for a bit. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I like where we're at. I like where we're going, and more to come very soon. Yeah. You were in Germany with the Auracast demos and such, mm-hmm. and there's a lot of great things, because if you look at a hearing aid, it's a communication device. I mean, we're in the communication business. Mm-hmm. Now it's connectivity for all, right? It's right. That connection where the phone and the house. I mean, that's where we're going, and hearing, is always job one. Mm-hmm. So we talk about when we are designing a new, in our first, as we say, our gate one vision for a new program, a new product. Question number one is, how do we improve the sound experience?
Right.
Period. And then question number two is, what do we need to improve the features for real patient benefits for today and what's next? Kind of looking up and out. Yep. So, connectivity is always the one. You want the hearing aid where, you take it out and it instantly pops up, whether it's Android or whatever. iPhone, just hit the button and instantly connects. But the other thing is, with newer technology and radios and Bluetooth, you're going to have the newer phones, newer devices, and that's going to take some time, especially in our industry. There's going to be a lag on. I know, again, I'll reference my grandmother and others. They still have, an iPhone 14. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's some iPhones 8s out there. I don't know, but they're not going out and buying the next version like you and I do on the next day. We're early adopters.
Yeah, so it will depend on.
But what is yours? What's your opinion?
I can give you a couple examples for me. First of all, well, I agree completely. I'm tethered to my phone at all of the time, and it's the connectivity and really the handshaking between different technology. I'm an Apple person like you are, and I have the latest Mac. So with our devices, mm-hmm. the Genesis devices with Bluetooth low energy already.
Nice blue, by the way.
I know, I like that. And so I know a guy.
Yeah.
And so in this case, when I'm using my latest Mac, it will enable streaming directly from the Mac computer to my devices. That's forecasting a little bit of where Auracast, that next generation, is going to go, where you can walk into a movie theater, you can walk into a classroom, a place of worship, and instantly be hit with a pairing request. And now you can talk about one-to-many connections. And there's a lot of possibilities.
And the Amazon Fire and the companies that we're working with.
We're working with all of the companies that are developing that technology and pushing it out, technology for all. We know Bluetooth low energy is the future, but we also know that agnostic behavior to Android or iPhones makes the pairing experience a little different than when you're doing Bluetooth Classic, but you can't get 51 hours of battery life out of these RICs using Bluetooth Classic. No. We know it's the future. Auracast will provide that seamless interplay throughout the day, whether you're going from your phone to your computer to your TV, and really, I think, again, it's blasphemy for a hearing aid company to start talking about we may not need some of the accessories we have now that we can monetize, but it's about the patient focus, the patient experience, that if they can get a television set, we're going to be dependent on the technology coming out, but with compatibility with these Auracast emerging devices, that next generation, it's going to make their experience better, and patient-driven technology enables that.
Look, Starkey is a hearing technology company, mm-hmm. right? And we manufacture and we do a lot of other things, but we're first and foremost now a technology company. And what we're doing and where we're going, it's going to be all about connectivity and a communication device. Mm-hmm. Hearing's going to be using it as a hearing, a hearing aid and better hearing for those with hearing loss. that's going to be one dimension of multiple dimensions. This is going to be a personal assistant.
Yeah, it's going to be your personal assistant.
It's going to be your personal assistant that's going to help you get through your day. That's going to give you that little extra oomph, that edge that you need, and it's going to be your superpower.
Yeah, it's
going to be your superpower. That's whether you're, still in the prime of your career, or active aging and doing what you want later in life. It's going to be your superpower and your personal assistant that's going to be there and know you better than you know yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the excitement for the patient, the end user from the technology. Michael asked the question, what opportunities will arise for hearing care professionals in 2024? Where do you see on the near horizon?
I think that in 2024, I see the one opportunity, and this is always, for us, it's what we've been able to do, we're the best at. And I think there's some patients want this, and it's a kind of a lost art as what we could do with our CICs and IICs.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of telegraph some things a little bit, because I think the role of the professional, continue to invest in yourself. Nothing huge is going to change next year, except if you allow yourself to become complacent and waiting for something. We need to take the initiative, and we offer that. Just like I have to take initiative. My job, in what you do, is be the best at what you do with the technology that's in front of you. You don't have to know everything and be overwhelmed by it. You have to know the app. You have to know, yes, of course, the patient and what the software can do, where they're trusting you with their hearing. There isn't a more sacred trust than that. And what are professionals doing to continue to invest in the real world of the patient, not what we might read in articles and what ifs. I think the custom products, small, to some, size matters. I mean, they want the CIC and they want that IIC, and for some reason in our industry, we've become it's that lost art, but fearful of impressions.
Yeah.
Where
entire generation has forgotten how to make impressions, and even existing practitioners have gotten complacent to your
and
argument.
You got other industries, dental, they have to do it every day.
Yeah.
And we, it's an art where it can come back, and it also, for depending who, there's a niche for the patients that want it and want to pay for it for that higher, I'll say, premium of personalized fit down in the ear, and we know the benefits of the acoustics and everything of custom and CICs and IICs. Invest in yourself.
Yeah.
And offer new products that your patient that will benefit your patients.
That really touches on the next question, which comes from Scott, and really, you talk about how to differentiate yourself as many of our customers are small business owners, independent practitioners in a private practice environment. What does the future of private practice look like? Those that are specializing in diagnostics and dispensing. Everyone fears that we'll see what's happened in optometry or even in dentistry now, where there's vertical integration and there's no role for private practice anymore.
It doesn't change. There's a role, and you can get update on equipment. We could talk about ear scanning and all this. The endless future that always comes of things that, of differentiating yourself that we've discussed for decades. It comes down to service. It comes down to how that person feels when they walk in your office. You want to differentiate yourself in private practice, a clinic, big box. It doesn't matter.
Service.
It's the value of the service that's underestimated, where a person that walks in, they don't feel like an employee number. They feel like you are there to help them, and they're trusting you with their hearing health.
Yeah.
And I don't have much of I don't get mad. I don't like to get mad a lot, and I don't have a temper. But the one thing that irritates me is when you go into, whether it's electronics store, I won't name any, but the things that that just irritate me instantly is when you're the customer and you're treated like you're the problem.
Right.
So you want to differentiate yourself, focus on the little things, from when the person gets out of their car at your practice, your clinic, what's their experience? What's the, what's your front office look like? What's your sidewalk look like? Is it easy access? Are you thinking about them or are you thinking about you? So you want to differentiate yourself. And, it's not, yes, you have to have the equipment and the talent, but it's also having the right experience that patient needs because they feel like they're at home, just like the Mayo Clinic, as we talked about.
And the issue is people say, well, I have great success with receiver in the canal devices. I love them. I love custom, for people that take the time and have established practice with IICs and CICs. But even if you're fitting predominantly RICs, notice I have customized solutions here. We used to talk about these as AP being absolute power. Now we talk about it as all-purpose because it fits more comfortably. It's a skill set that comes over
the service part. That's where you differentiate. Where get out of the easy button mode.
Yeah.
Get out of the easy. And
that's the thing that can't be commoditized. Caring.
And then you have to care. The number one thing in this industry is you have to care. And I've seen that more and more as we move ahead, where people, professionals, they want that easy button. Yeah. And time's a commodity. I get that. But the patient isn't, and the products aren't.
Every patient deserves your entire attention and your focus. You don't know your patient until you know your patient, and that takes time. But that's the differentiator.
So is there a big change in 2024? No, it's a slow evolution year by year. What comes out, because it still comes back to that human touch.
Yeah. I knew that time would fly with this. We're
you and I can sit here for hours.
Yeah, but so let's do a little bit of lightning round kind of work on this case. So I know that you're, as you said, you're a user of the MyStarkey app with the devices. The app often serves as the interface to the technology. But what's your favorite feature within the MyStarkey app?
Edge Mode Plus.
Edge Mode Plus. Why?
Because whatever that environment is, every time it seems to nail it. I was in a very crowded environment last night. At a retirement party, and instantly it just took care of it. I didn't have to think. Intuitive.
Yeah, just use it. It's a user interface that's effortless. Yeah. What's one sound that you can think of that is your favorite sound that you would miss if you couldn't hear anymore?
It would be the wind in the leaves.
Okay. So that's silence because you're surrounded by energy and that's serene and calm. What's your least favorite sound? One that you could go the rest of your life and not worry about hearing ever again?
Oh, a Vikings game.
Just because it's the Vikings? Yeah. You and me both. We're aligned on that. But usually it's often, when I go to the Vikings game, it ends up being, you can hear a pin drop because it's so quiet.
It's it's really, I mean, the sounds are so loud in there, and it's really not Vikings, just overall sports. But it's, for me, the number one sound would be a blender.
A blender.
It's so loud.
Least favorite sound. So it's a loud sound. Who's your favorite race car driver?
Number one fan, my son, William Sawalich. Yes.
Indeed, he's had a hell of a year in the past year, and looking forward to just announce he's going to be in the Xfinity Series next year.
Yes, so he's doing great on his own. He's his own young professional, and he's got the talent. He's investing in that talent. And the other thing that surprised me, new, but bringing hearing healthcare awareness to protecting hearing, and what it's done a lot in that community, and it's expanded. I just had a couple other meetings in other industries there. They're wanting to, protect the healthy hearing because it's a growing problem.
Indeed, I mean it's an important derail from the lightning round kind of approach, because it seems crazy that a hearing aid company would be interested in selling fewer products. But in fact, if we can prevent hearing loss from occurring in these young individuals, I've had the opportunity to test the hearing in a lot of young musicians, young people who are exposed to loud noises, including race car drivers. And when you start to tell them that their hearing, which they depend on more than they realize for listening to when to shift and the car, it gets their attention.
Yeah, it's loud, but it is, I tell you what, you go to a race, it's powerful. And, a lot of people ask me if it's nerve-wracking. No, it's everybody else I'm worried about. He's doing a great job, and, couldn't be more proud.
Well, I think we'll end on that as proud dad, in addition to leading Starkey and in the industry with CEO and president. And I thank you for sharing your views. And then also looking at
you're a leader in this industry too, and your opinion matters. And a lot of people here at Starkey. It's not just me, but I work with a great team and enjoy everybody. And next year's going to be great, and I'm excited about the next 3 years. I mean, we've only just begun.
I I can't wait. So thank you for the past year, for our viewers and listeners of Starkey SoundBites. If you have any ideas for future topics or questions that you want answered, send us an email at soundbites@starkey.com. Thank you for listening. Thanks for this last year. We got great things planned for 2024. I'm sure we'll have Brandon back a time or two.
Anytime. Love it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Dave.